say who I think Deb and Andy are.
What's that? Sorry.
I'll tell you who I think Deb and Andy are. I think
Sure.
Andy's from New Holland. New Holland.
Okay.
And Deb might be from Mountjoy now. Is it Deb Damasio?
That's a solid name, Deb Damasio. Like that's just got some.
Name.
What a
but
brilliant.
But it's possible that it's someone else. So.
Hi, Deb. This is Andy. We're from New Holland.
Yeah, Deb was right.
Sherry's with me, and I think Deb is with Morgantown now.
Oh, Morgantown.
Oh, did I say something else? I know it wasn't Gap. Yes.
Yeah.
Deb,
you said Mountjoy. Yeah.
I did. Yeah, it was Morgantown. You're right, Andy. Thank you.
Yep.
Wonderful.
But I don't know if that's the Deb.
Yeah. Well, let's get started here. First off, I wanted to welcome you all here. We've got a pretty full house today, which is awesome. My goal is I'm going to kind of roll through some of this stuff a little quick, give you a bit of a sales pitch. Questions are more than welcome. If you need time to think about them and then you need to like throw questions to your coordinator, that's also more than okay. And I don't mind taking the time to talk you through it and get you through that if you need. The hope is for this video too is, let's say you have a group like a board or other shareholders or stake decision makers that need to see it. Welcome to share this with them if you don't feel confident in presenting what you found here today yourself. That's kind of my goal. First off, I wanted to state myself, I'm Kyle Rudge. I work with MCC Canada and the US. I think I'm one of, if not the only kind of working cross-border with Thrift these days, formally on both sides of the border. But I've been here about 7 years now, and it's fun to see how Thrift has evolved even just in those 7 years. One of the things we did notice though, and one of the challenges that was on my plate when I first came on was this idea of marketing and branding and figuring out how can we help each other? How can a store experience in New Holland increase loyalty to somebody that's in Winnipeg, for instance? And we wanted to try and find ways to do that. Part of that was with social media. So here's our social media problem. We have social media pages across our entire network. We have 100 social media pages with hundreds of thousands of followers, and only a small fraction of that hundreds of thousands that we have, people who have liked our pages, actually see the content that we're putting out. And so we wanted to figure out a way to get our content, and by that I'm not talking about stuff that I'm doing, like maybe a campaign, although that could include it. I am primarily talking about the content that you're developing. So that could be as simple as, hey, red tags are on sale this Friday. That I want to have in front of more eyes. So that's kind of my goal with what I've been doing here. And to give it into more like linguistic context, I want to increase the reach of all of our shops so that their content, store specific content, your content, gets in front of more customers in a timely fashion. If you want to tell them about something, I want to make sure they hear about it. I have found in my 7 years of working in this position and working with US and Canada and shops everywhere, the best formula that gets work done is if I could provide more results with less work on your plates as managers or boards or whomever, because you are all pushed to the limit. You are all stretched thin. I get it. You don't want me adding anything onto your plate because it's just not going to get done. You got other things to do, and I get that. And so that's my goal, is I want to provide for you more results with less work. That's how I'm kind of going to go with it. So this is going to look kind of confusing. I'm gonna explain it just a second, but first I'll share over some what I'm kind of talking about. So this is going to be the example. Facebook has what they call, like, it's an algorithm. It's a process in which they decide how many people gets to see your content, and to do that, they have to decide whether or not your content is actually all that interesting. If your content is interesting, they'll show it to more people. If it's not interesting, then they don't want to show it to people, because they want people who are on Facebook to stay on Facebook. They want to see interesting content. So this is a shop out of Saskatchewan, Herbert, Saskatchewan. We're going to use this as our reference one. They are part of the parent-child relationship. And I'll look at one of their posts here. So this is something that they've posted themselves onto their shop. Pretty standard stuff. This could be something that any of us could post. Single twin bed, $20. Set of bunk beds, $45 sold. Oh man, I wish I would have got those. Please call or visit the store with any inquiries. This is pretty standard. We'll see it, decent photo, et cetera, et cetera. I can see here that there's about 955 people reached, which is pretty good considering they have about 1,500 followers on their page. So they're showing about 2/3 of their followers actually see this content. So they had like 1,000 people actually see this and potentially make that sale, and it probably helped them sell that set of bunk beds and will maybe help them sell that single twin bed. But if they were not part of the parent-child network, what would end up happening is a very, very small fraction of people would actually see this. We'd be looking at closer to 1 to 200 people would actually see that, and they have the same amount of likes. And there are multiple reasons for that. And I'll kind of go into how does Facebook decide whether or not your content is interesting? Do they think so? And that's where I kind of have this simplified format. There are people who research this and try to figure out what the answer really is. Facebook has a very closely guarded secret as to what they deem is their algorithm, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll kind of use some terms here. They're not wholly accurate, but this is a best guess based on lots of other research and experts in the field. I'll start it. Let's say we have a page score. We're just going to use this as kind of our metric, our base measurement. We have a page score of 100. Out of whatever infinite. This is how interesting we are. We are 100 out of 1,000 right now because we've just started a page. They're going to look at our content, but Facebook doesn't like manually judge every content and be like, oh, this is more interesting than this one. They don't do that. It's a computer program that kind of looks through the content to deem whether or not that content is interesting. And they do that by seeing what do other people do with that content. So they do things like likes. Are people liking that photo? Are people commenting on that photo? Are people sharing that photo? And that's where you'll see if you yourself, or maybe you have family members that watch YouTube and their YouTube personalities will say like, comment, and subscribe. It's because they want to increase. They want to fool the system into thinking they're more interesting than they are. Other things that they'll look at is that if you're posting pictures on things, if you're posting videos on things, but that's not the only way in which they're judging whether or not your content is interesting. There's another one. This one here, is the content consistent? How often are you posting? What is the frequency in which you're posting? Are you posting every day? Or are you posting one interesting thing a month? Well, Facebook's like, not so much. I want to know how often you are posting interesting things. And if you're doing that frequently, then I'll start to show, then I can trust your future content as likely being more interesting. Also, variety. They want to know if you're posting the same thing every day. So when I first came on, a lot of our shops had that sort of like that green tag, yellow tag, blue tag, 50% off this week. And I could just scroll through their Facebook page, and that's all I would see. It's just that announcement over and over and over and over again. There's not a lot of variety to it. Same kind of looking pictures, same sort of lingo, and same low score in people interacting with it. And the problem was that we were getting like 1 to 2%. So if we had 100 likes, 1 or 2 people would see it. If we had 1,000 likes, maybe 10. And that's just not, it's not worth our time at that point. But there are ways we can increase that, which is why we're bringing this in. So another way in which we can do that is we can have associated content. And this is the Facebook parent-child relationship. So to kind of explain the parent-child relationship thing is you have your parent, and then you have a whole bunch of children underneath. And that content, if I as a parent make a post, that goes to all of the children's pages as well. And it becomes what is called associated content. And if I can make that content interesting, if I can get your followers and stuff to like, interact with, comment, share, that type of stuff, then your page is going to be more interesting. And if your page is more interesting, the things that you do, like your store sales or volunteer stories, etc., get seen by more people. And the more we do this, the more people that are not people who like our page end up getting to see it. It ends up being friends of friends that get to see it, and it becomes a very viable means of advertising that isn't costing you more time, isn't costing you more money, but potentially is just costing you a little bit of setup time. So one of the other things that happens with this is that it allows us to have some variety in the posts that we like. So if I go back to sharing my screen here, I will show you some of the variety that I mean. So I go back to Facebook, you can see MCC Thrift, Herbert Thrift Shop. We've done a post like this. So this is a semi-product post that we're talking about. They've done a product post here, but we also do like little inspirational things. You can see the reach here is up to 1,000 on their page. We've also done things that are like, hey, visit your local MCC Thrift Shop, some MCC stories. And you can see here, so this is where is your money going to when you shop at MCC Thrift? 1,600 people reach. That's more than the number of likes on this page. So that means this has been seen by friends of friends of friends, that Facebook has thought, hey, you might think this is interesting. I'm going to show it to you, which links that to us as a shop. One of the other things that I had unfortunately discovered as a truth is that our shoppers will know the name MCC Thrift, but most of them won't know what the acronym stands for and won't know the work that we do. We do great work. Like, I love the work that MCC does. I'm proud of it. I love the pictures, the stories that all comes out. I want to be able to attach that to their purchasing decisions so that they feel good about shopping at your shop, and that they'll come back. They'll tell their friends about it because they know the work that we are doing is awesome. So that's kind of my thought process and all of that. So if I go back to our little thing here, you'll see, is the associated content interesting? Is the thing that we're posting interesting? If yes, is it content consistent? Then yes. So we are posting at approximately 2.5 times a week to your, that would be to your page if you were a child, 2.5 times a week. Now, the thing is that the post that we make is an all or nothing. So I can't post and say only show it to the Canadian shops. It has to be to both. But this is something that we've encountered before. It's something that we've encountered in MCC with our Facebook pages before with like MCC General. It's also something that we encounter with our newsletter. As we get a newsletter that goes to both US audience and Canadian audience, we have to be very aware that not all content is interesting to all people. There are things that I can talk about in Canada or reference, and it could be very culturally relevant. Nobody in Southern US cares. And the vice versa is also true. Although in Canada, we're kind of used to people just talking to us like we're Americans, but it's still not ideal. But there are some things that are universally true. So one of the most popular posts that we often do is volunteer highlight stories. And it doesn't matter if that highlight, if that's a volunteer from Harrisonburg, Virginia, it doesn't matter if it's Herbert, Saskatchewan that is seeing it. They still love it because this is a real person that they are encountering with. And so we are bridging those gaps to bring all of that together to give it that sense of unity, etc. Ooh, looks like Joy is joining us now. That's basically it. To go into what it kind of looks like and in the back end and how it kind of operates for you. One of the main challenges and concerns that everybody seemed to have, we rolled this out in Canada. It was an optional thing. You don't have to sign up. Nobody is mandated to sign up. It was an optional thing. We started at the start of pandemic, about 1.5 years through the pandemic. So we're looking at about halfway of 2021. We had 100% sign up across Canada. Every single shop in Canada saw the value of it and signed up for it. One of their main concerns, though, was control and our own shop unique flavor. The shop in New Holland does not look like the shop in Herbert, Saskatchewan. They may both be rural, but when you walk in, New Holland is probably 4 times the size as Herbert. But you get the idea. It's not the same. And you have a flavor that you want to share with your community. So one of the things is like you have your cover photo, which is up top here. That I don't touch unless you ask me to, but no, I don't touch that. They have a profile photo. That I don't touch unless you ask me to. You can change that, make that whatever you want. you'll see here they've decided to go with a brand of MCC Thrift, but they still have their name in brackets as to who they are there. It could be the other way around as well. Or it could just be your shop name. So it could just be like World's Attic or etc. I'm sure that applies to somebody. Thrift or Woodland, Thrift or Woodland Crossing. There we go. That's another one. But we all have a bunch of unique names. So that can be whatever as well too. But what you'll see is there'll be some posts from MCC Thrift, which is us. And you'll see that gets automatically posted to your page. You on the back end, you'll get to see where that post is coming from. So this is coming from our Instagram page. I can see that this was from one of the managers at Herbert, Saskatchewan. I can see this one's Instagram. Where's another Instagram? You might see somebody called Maddie. She's our social media contractor. She posts and everything like this. This is a great volunteer photo that we made of what was going. See, look at that reach, 2,700 for a volunteer, which is phenomenal. Yeah, that's basically it on the back end. This is an incidental thing. So like, I don't upkeep your page. It's just, I'm going to throw some content to your page periodically to help increase. But on the back end, what you're going to see is you're going to see page roles. You're going to see a lot more. So normally you would have seen something like this, like one manager, maybe a coordinator or something like this. But then you're going to see a whole bunch more that get added. This is all inherited from the parent page. This means that we do technically could be an administrator of your page. We have administrator privileges, but through policy, we don't. That is not what we are allowed to do. But what it does allow us is that we do get to help monitor things and be another set of eyes. There have been a number of times where I've seen like a message would pop up and somebody is really, really upset. Like say somebody feels they've been racially profiled unfairly at your shop. That is a serious accusation. That is something that we're all going to want to address right away. But as managers, you are not monitoring your social media all the time. And I get that. So if something like that popped up, if I saw it, I would immediately be contacting a coordinator that is relevant saying, you need to, like, this is very real. How do you want me to respond? And they'll go through with that. Sometimes these situations get escalated to the point where they don't know how to handle it. It gets bigger. And I don't mind being brought in on those times to help navigate some of those conflicts. So we've had situations where people were racially profiled and we had to figure out how do we navigate that, because people we have a mob mentality, right? If somebody that we care about is hurt, we want to go on the offensive, or we want to be defensive and not let them remain hurt. Or if this is an issue that we really, really care about, and I'll start, the clarion call against such people. And that happens. It's not a political thing. It's not a where you stand on things. That's just a human nature thing. But in social media, what ends up happening is we get this outrage on behalf of someone else. And so you can address the original complainant and you could be good, but somebody else saw that conflict and they're outraged on this other person's behalf. Dealing with that's the hard one to really deal with. And so that's where somebody like me comes in if you need some assistance, that type of stuff. The other,
I want to say that Kyle is really excellent at that. Really
I've done it with several shops. We've had some interesting ones, and through the pandemic, there were a lot of sensitive topics and issues that really needed to be addressed, and I didn't mind helping out through all of that. That was probably my primary job through the start of the pandemic, was just navigating conflicts. The other thing is security. There are many shops, unfortunately, that have lost control of their Facebook page through one way or another, whether it's, you've had a manager that, needed to move on, you lost contact with, or maybe there was some unfortunate, falling out circumstances and they had full control. What do? You can petition Facebook and ask them to reinstate you, but I've never been successful in that. And I've tried, and I have contacts at Facebook. It is very difficult. So we're a small fish. We're not going to get that. So this offers some security that if somebody somehow gets control over your page, we have control that we can just take it back and reinstate everything that was there. The idea of this program, if you were to sign up for something like this, you would see 2.5 posts, 2.5 posts a month, or sorry, 2.5 posts a week. And we would want to do a 6-month trial. I would love to have you sign up for 6 months. The idea is then we will monitor all of your social media, kind of like the growth, some of the stats, things like that for you to see along the ways. After 3 months, we're going to do an evaluation. At that 3-month mark, we'll kind of figure out like, okay, we'll know if this is not working. Odds are we're going to need more data, but if it's not going to work, we're going to know, and we'll pull the plug at 3 months. What does it mean if we pull the plug? It means that you're no longer a child of the page and we start over. Your page just goes back to you. Nothing is lost. No likes are lost. No, for the most part, people aren't going to see a change in any of it. That option is available. If we need to pull the plug, we can, and we just revert back. But the goal is to have 6 months of data. And then from there, we'll decide, is this a direction that MCC US wants to continue in, wants to pursue? Was this a successful pilot, etc.? Yeah, that's basically the pitch. I'll take any and all questions. There are, yeah, I'd love to hear them.
Kyle, I do have one from Deb, and it is Deb Damasio. She's at the Morgantown Reuse It shop.
Yep.
And her question is, but I think I have the answer. She'd like to ask, how do you recover a Facebook page? But she sent me a screenshot and the account has been, oh, Deb, are you able to talk? Anyway. Okay, she's not able to talk.
Okay, fair enough.
She has
Continue
no
on.
camera for us to
Okay.
see her or hear her. But the notice says that they had 30 days to ask for a review, and that has since passed. My guess is, do they have to just create a new page?
I'd have to look at it. I'm not sure of all the details on all of that. So my guess
Okay.
would be, Deb, if you could connect with Roland, and then the three of us can maybe get together and kind of navigate those waters, see what's best. I don't mind doing that.
She said, okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other questions as it pertains to the pilot? Is this something you would be interested in? If not, that's okay too. That's what a pilot's all for.
Question about,
Go for it, Jill.
so we currently post about 3 times a week
Wonderful.
in our shop. Now, I'm a little concerned about Facebook post fatigue from our people. Do you have any, like, mostly because I get tired of too many of anything. So what I wondered is, is it possible for the parent to just do 1 post a week so that we would just get 1 MCC thrift post a week, and then we would do 3 others as per normal?
I feel you. I would say, so here's my, so we encountered that with Canada as well too. That was many people's concern of that same fatigue. How much is too much? We've determined that once a day hasn't been enough with posting as it pertains to
Hasn't been
Facebook.
too much, you mean?
No, it hasn't been too much. We've seen a lot of growth. So one of the stats that we can measure and we can see in the Facebook Insights is how many people have clicked, I don't want to see things like this anymore. How many times have they hidden the post, et cetera, et cetera. So we can actually see those statistics. Also things like if we've posted a video, we can see how long they've watched the video. And it appears that these are having a lot of really good traction and stuff moving forward. And so the idea of the 2.5 a week, I can't change that number because it's been so successful in Canada. And for this particular pilot, we're combining those systems. So we're kind of coming onto the Canadian system as well to make it a universal North American content. So that's going to remain the same for the pilot.
I mean, I suppose, I'm just asking, we could edit and just delete the post if
Nope.
we can't delete yours.
Nope.
Okay.
That's the all or none mentality. So if
Okay.
it would have to be one of us delete it, and if we delete it, it deletes off of every page.
Oh, okay. All right. Second question, related somewhat. We are in an area that has several MCC thrift stores that are pretty local.
Yep.
So let's say we have people who follow all 3.
Yep.
Do they get notifications from each of them?
No.
Is it exactly the same?
Yeah. So they would get from one of the 3.
Okay,
and Facebook would determine. So they're not gonna get. So Facebook doesn't want to show you duplicate content because that doesn't bode well for them. That gets you frustrated as a user, so they won't show duplicate content. I don't know the algorithm which they would decide by which 3 they show, which one they show from that. But yeah, they would only show one.
okay, thank you.
It's a great question. I'm guessing you're Pennsylvania then, if you have a lot close by.
Ohio.
Oh, hi. Okay, yeah. To a Canadian, that's almost the same thing.
I'm in a campground and I think a tractor's coming again, so I'll say it quickly. Is there a limit to how many staff members can post? Like, will this be managers only, or because I know right now some of my assistant managers and even volunteers are posting things on our page, and I wouldn't. Is this more controlled for managers only for your pilot?
Okay, great question. Whatever you do with your page is on you. Like, you could still post. So like Jill said that she was posting 3 times a week. Keep going. If you want to change that, if you want to up it, you want to lower it, that's okay for the pilot. I have no expectation on that. From us, we only have one team, which is primarily one person, but we have a team that we would post with. But that's the idea. So we very curate and we're very careful with the posts that we make and work hard on them. So yeah, the work that you do, you still have full access. You could give access to the next volunteer that has come in the door to post to their heart's content, and that's fine. I don't recommend giving them access the next volunteer that walks through the door, but you could.
So how do we go about signing up?
Wonderful. You talk to your coordinator. We'll get the process started. What's going to happen is, first off, I'll be made an administrator of your page. And I found that through Canada, that's just the easiest thing. I'm not going to ask you anything more to make me an administrator, and I'll do the rest. There is a very complicated process. One of the things is that Facebook doesn't like it when if you're an admin of the parent and admin of a child, I'm not going to let you merge these 2 things. Facebook says, no, I don't like that. So my workaround has been either I get somebody else from the digital communications team and quickly just add them as an administrator, and then we do it together, and then we just get them off. But I've also commandeered my wife's Facebook account to get through this, just to expedite it, because the people in the digital communications team were busy. So, but that's just a temporary 1-week thing. And yeah, great question. Anything else?
Could you talk a little bit about timeline when
Right.
this
Yeah,
would
I
start?
did talk about the 6 months. I didn't talk about when to start. That's a good question. I was looking to start October 1st, which would give us some time in September to kind of get some things settled through, to get all the pages lined up. And then I'm going to take a snapshot on October 1st of all of those that are participating. And from that, that's where we'll just kind of monitor. Our hope is to do once a month updates. We may not be able to. It's going to depend on kind of workload of what else is going on with various other things in the digital communications team. But we will at the very least do a 3-month and a 6-month kind of update on some of the statistics with it. With that too, we're also going to do that review at the 3-month mark, and we'll have a second onboarding process if necessary, because I also know in the US things are a little bit more complicated sometimes with decisions, because you've got boards and there's just a lot more signatures that we need to get along the way. So if we can't get you signed up, but you're really interested and we can't get you signed up by October 1, then January 1, I'll do a second sign up to kind of do a half pilot at that point if we're continuing with the process.
Great, thank you. I have another question.
Of course.
If a shop doesn't currently have a Facebook page but wants to start doing this, do they need to get that initial page set up, or are you going to do that?
I mean, it'd be I think if they're interested in doing that, I think the best bet is to contact your coordinator, and then we'll work together to do that. Because there's no sense in them setting up a page and then us having to go through and merging the 2 pages. I'll just give them access to a location page, and then
Okay.
they can edit all that information. They can, what your store hours are, et cetera, et cetera. That's fine. Any other questions?
Quick question.
Yeah.
I am not savvy along this realm. Does this affect the Instagram account at all?
Great question. No. So every page has its own Instagram account attached to it. And so Instagram itself doesn't have a parent-child relationship, even though it's both owned by Facebook. But what you will see is MCC Thrift, like us. We have our own Instagram account, and when we post to both that one and the next one. So we posted that Instagram account, and it pushes to our Facebook page, which ends up pushing to all of the children. So that's what we'll see. Hey, look, Sarah, your cohort. Your other Sarah has joined us just as we're wrapping up, but that's okay. That's why I recorded it.
Just a quick comment. I know I'm an antique, but one thing that was actually a revelation to me, Kyle, when you were teaching us this the last couple of weeks, was that not every follower sees every post I make.
No, not a chance.
And that's the whole idea of this synergy that happens if we're
Yeah.
all combined.
Yeah, it's Facebook's business model, right? If they showed all of the stuff that you like to everybody, why would they ever need advertising? So they want you to pay them so that they will push it out to more, but they also had a delicate balance. They also need to make sure that their site is interesting enough without ads that people stay. So that's that whole viral posting idea. Cool beans.
When will the link for the recording be available in case anybody needs to, that's here wants to share it with a coworker?
I don't want to give myself a deadline. You know what? Okay, so I'll close the meeting off here, and then I'll upload it to an unlisted YouTube, and I'll send Deb the link so she can disseminate it.
Okay.
And I should have it up by today.
Okay. Sarah, do
Welcome,
you have
Sarah.
any questions before we log off? I'll send you the recording.
Thank you. That'll be great. I apologize. I had thought I would be available at noon and I was not. So anyway.
That's all right. Sarah spoke very highly of you the entire time.
I'm sure I was the center of attention.
Bragged.
I have another question.
Yeah, go
coming
for it.
from Deb.
Oh,
And I
wonderful.
think it's a really good one because I don't think you mentioned it. Will there be a cost?
Oh, will there be a cost for the pilot? No. And our hope is that, like, yeah. So what we're doing, the way in which we're doing it is that we have our social media contractor already on contract, and we spoke to them about this idea of the pilot, and they've agreed to do the pilot at no additional cost. We did a review of the last 3 months of posts to see were there posts that we would want to change, like how much more work would it be to make sure our content is relevant to both the Canadian and the US audience. And we were shocked by how much of it actually already was just relevant. And so because there really wasn't going to be that much of a change, her response was like, I can't justify charging more for that. After the pilot, we may want to have to increase some of that, but until then, no charge.
And if there is, my expectation is that my budget will carry the increase in the cost to do this for the US. It will not lay on the shop.
Not on a shop's charge. Yeah.
Budgets.
Yeah. If shops want to donate to Kyle's temporary material happiness fund, that's always an option. But
Does that include goods as well as financial? Because I
Well,
think we
it-
probably have,
if there's unsold goods, I don't know if I want those arrive at my doorstep. That's your problem, not mine.
Well, I was gonna send you some silverware, but forget it.
Yeah, that's okay. Fair enough. I'll take $25 stemware, I guess. That's the other reference we had. All right. Well, with that, thank you all so much for coming out and giving 40 minutes out of your day to come and chat. If you have any questions, anything like that, or maybe you didn't think of anything and it came up later, just talk to your coordinator. They'll relay the message to me. And if I need to be brought into that conversation because it's a really in-depth thing, I don't mind doing that either. It's my job. All right. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Kyle.